Okay, then there is phase margin is the angle beta h of j omega gx at what frequency it crosses that plus 180 degrees. Okay, then system is stable and well behaved if phase margin short form is Pm, if Pm is greater than equal to 60 degree, then in time domain system is well behaved. Okay, and third concept is in the Bode plot you plot 20 log of beta times h of s. For beta equal to 1, if this is the plot, for any other beta, the gain plot is going to shift down exactly by the amount. This amount will be equal to 20 log of 1 by beta. So if beta equal to 0.5, the gain plot is going to drop exactly by 6 dB. The phase plot does not move that much. Okay. Now, if I have a certain amount of phase margin with beta equal to 1, then my phase margin improves as beta reduces. Phase margin improves as beta reduces. So I discussed that also. Okay. Now, another important thing is uh, the 3 dB bandwidth for unity gain is equal to the unity gain omega 3 dB equal to omega UGBW of loop gain. Loop gain is LG, and this is omega 3 dB is closed loop. Okay. Now, in case of unity gain, this is going to be the bandwidth 3 dB bandwidth, the unity gain bandwidth. In case of beta equal to 0.5, the unity gain bandwidth is going to be here. Okay, that is another thing. Now, if I typically we build circuits where we want to make sure we usually build circuits which behave like two-pole system. Even if there are multiple poles, we build it in a manner that we have maximum of 2 poles. Okay, what is the meaning of that? If there are more poles, we still make it 2 poles. So I want to state this fact in this manner. So there is a question. Okay, system is stable for all beta if it is stable for beta equal to 1. But will that be the case even when beta equal to 1? We started off with the discussion always beta is always less than 1, less than equal to 1. So where is the beta greater than 1 question coming in? The 3 dB point is where the curve starts bending. Now, usually if there are multiple poles in the system, okay, if the system has, let's say, omega p1, omega p2, omega p3, and omega pn, okay, we started off with a system which was like this. We do something special to it. Something special is done, which is beyond the scope of this course. Something special is done to make sure that this is 0 dB, y-axis is 20 log of beta times h of s, okay, and here it is frequency, or I would do it in omega. So this is omega P1. We do something special so that omega P2 is is the unity gain bandwidth of the loop gain. That is something special which we'll discuss in your fourth year course. So anyway, so if there are multiple, so there would be other poles that will come here beyond this, but they don't matter that point because the loop gain has dropped below 0 dB. So who cares what happens after that? Okay, it is not going to cause any kind of problem. It is not going to cause any oscillations. So there can be another pole over here. There can be another pole over here, but we don't care because the gain has dropped below 0. Yes, I have not turned on the recording because I'm just going through a revision of what we did. Okay, because there is nothing much to discuss except the oscillator. Oscillator will take me probably another half an hour. I just wanted to revise this concept, so I want you to, if you want, please write this down. Gain crossover frequency is important. The pole, one question is, pole frequency correspond to 3 dB cutoff frequency in actual Bode plot. That is the wrong way of putting it. The pole frequency is the frequency where the slope of the Bode plot changes. Okay. If it was 0 dB per decade, DC gain 0 dB per decade was the initial plot. As soon as I hit a pole, it starts going down at minus 20 dB per decade. Another pole, it starts going down at minus 40 dB per decade. Pole is the frequency at which the slope of the Bode plot gain changes from by minus 20 dB per decade, by an additional minus 20 dB per decade. And the 3 dB frequency is the first pole frequency. Does it answer your question? Okay, I hope so. So please write this down. These are some important things. Now, please refer to your notes and the previous lecture. When phase margin is greater than or equal to 60 degree, what is the meaning of a well-behaved system and an ill-behaved system and partially well-behaved system? See, again, isn't it a theoretical assumption that slope abruptly changes after pole? As I said, Bode plot is an asymptotic plot. I don't know why this question is coming up. In reality, if I hit the first pole, omega P1, it is going to go gradually down. But we say that, you know what? Let it go flat like this. Actual plot is the black plot. Bode plot will be this plot. So asymptotically, it will behave like this. So Bode plot, omega P1 is where it will be minus 3 dB. This height, this will be 3 dB. So when we do Bode plot, because we are human beings, we don't want to draw these smooth curves. It's difficult for us to draw. Computer can do this. We will draw this, the purple one, here for us. Okay. So again, now omega 3 dB of the closed loop. Okay. So please write this down. This is closed loop CL. Now, the next important concept, phase margin improves as beta reduces. Another important concept. Now, if there are multiple poles in a system, we started off with a system that has multiple poles. We do something special, do some tricks to that system and convert it into a manner that omega P2 becomes the unity gain bandwidth and the overall system behaves as if it is a single pole system. Okay. That is something, we do something more special also sometimes. What we do is, we will do it like this, pole comes, then we introduce a 0 and then another pole, that also we can do to enhance the performance. So these are certain tricks which are beyond the scope of this course, so I won't get into that. Okay. Now, having said that, are there any further doubts? I've shared the lectures. Actually, there is a limit on how much I can share. So I think there are 3 more lectures that I need to share. So I'll share all of them by tonight. Okay. So you will have access to all the lectures. And today I'll start off with oscillation and won't go into an LC tank and all because you will be in the lab. You were supposed to do an RC oscillator. So I will skip the LC part of it. I will just introduce the oscillator concept and then go into an RC phase shift oscillator and wrap up the course. Okay. And if you want, tomorrow we can have the class. Otherwise, we can skip tomorrow's class. We can have a couple of sessions before the exam. Frequency compensation is not part of the syllabus. Yeah, for a 3-pole system, obviously there will be stability issue because we are hitting minus 270 degrees, right? Now, what can you do to make it stable? I mean, in order to make a 3-pole system, you do compensation to convert a 3-pole system into a 2-pole system effectively. And the third pole comes after the unity gain bandwidth of the loop gain. Okay, so that is what you do. That is what I said is that if you increase capacitance, you reduce the speed of the circuit. What's the value? Yeah, you can increase capacitance. I don't deny it to satisfy that condition. But anytime you increase capacitance, you are compromising speed. Because if the capacitance increases, the pole frequency reduces. And the pole frequency decides your bandwidth of the circuit. Okay? Okay. So now, this will take me probably half an hour to wrap this up. Okay? And after this, we are going to tomorrow, if you want, I can take another doubt clearing session. But for the doubt clearing session to happen, I want one of you to take the initiative of uh, having a bunch of questions set up or start typing them on chat and we'll answer one by one. Okay. Now, oscillators. So, in this, so we already started. We discussed the criteria for oscillation. Okay. So till now, whatever we have. Oh, let me record. Okay. Till now, whatever we discussed about the condition for stability. That means we wanted to build amplifiers which are not oscillating. Okay, we should not have oscillation in the system. And we discussed all the means. What do we need to do to make sure that there are no oscillations in the system? But in oscillators, we really want oscillation. Means we want system to oscillate and give us a precise clock, which is used to drive every system, almost all the systems in the world, right? The CPU runs off of a clock. Your cell phone runs off of a clock. Any other system that you come across, all of them are synchronous systems, means they need a clock. Okay, That means we need to be able to generate precise clock, and for generation of precise clocks, we need oscillators. Okay. Now, oscillator we'll discuss from the feedback perspective. There are different perspectives based on which you can study oscillators. But for now, in this course, we'll study from the negative feedback perspective, where the negative feedback effectively becomes a positive feedback. Instead of being a negative feedback, we may make sure that it becomes a positive feedback. So we have seen earlier that in the above feedback system, where feedback factor beta equal to 1, if the amplifier experiences so much phase shift at high frequencies that the overall feedback becomes positive, then the oscillations may occur. Now let's look at it in this manner. This minus, plus and minus means a DC phase shift of 180 degree, means this phase shift is valid for all frequencies, from all the way from DC to infinite frequency, because this is a subtraction. Okay. Now, if this H of S, we saw that if H of S has a phase shift, which happens because the Bode plot has a gain and a phase plot, if this phase shift is minus 180 degree, then the total phase shift in this loop is 360 degree, and it becomes a positive feedback system. Oscillation may occur at any beta. However, as you know, oscillation may occur better as beta tends to 1, right? As beta tends to 1, phase margin reduces, right? So, and phase margin is a measure of how stable is the system. If the phase margin becomes close to 0 or negative, okay, that means I am more susceptible to oscillation. Now, phase margin reduces as beta increases. Just now I revised that as beta reduces, phase margin increases, it becomes more and more stable. So, therefore, oscillation is more likely to occur as beta tends to 1. So, in all oscillator topology that are there, beta is always equal to 1 in almost all oscillator topologies, because that is what gives you the minimum phase margin. Okay. Now we saw that H of S equal to 1 by 1 plus H of S, and the Barkhausen criteria for oscillation is this. Okay. Now keep in mind, in the previous one we talked about minus 180 degree, and here we have put a feedback factor of 1 because oscillator we want maximum feedback factor. We talked about minus 180 degree. Now keep in mind, here we talk about 180 degree. In reality, minus 180 degree. Why did we say minus 180 degree earlier? Because the phase shift happens with the poles in the system, and the pole gives you a negative phase shift. So we talked about minus 180, right? Here we'll talk about 180. Okay, both of them give you the same condition for criteria for oscillation. At omega naught, forward path gives a phase shift of 180 degree at this omega naught, and then the negative feedback, that is the summing node, gives another 180 degree phase shift. So overall 360 degree phase shift in the loop results in positive feedback or oscillation. DC phase shift is, as I mentioned, this plus minus is always a phase shift. Even if I give a signal that is not changing with time, if I increase the voltage here, in case of a common source amplifier, this voltage if I change the input, if I increase the input, the DC increase, what happens to the output? The output increases. So that means this is giving you a phase shift of 180 degree, and we call it as a DC phase shift, because this condition is valid for DC as well as the infinite for all frequencies, because of the nature of the circuit. That is the meaning of DC phase shift. So various views of feedback system for oscillation. So we give a phase shift of 180 degrees in the forward path, and we do a subtraction here. So total phase shift is 360 degrees. Okay. Second view is I give a 360 degree phase shift in the forward path, and I do an addition here. Third view is if I do an addition here and I give a 0 degree. Okay. All the three are equivalent ways of looking at this. the above mentioned phase shift, so this 180-degree phase shift, 360-degree phase shift, 0-degree phase shift are happening at the oscillation frequency omega naught, and the summing node gives a DC phase shift. Okay, so this summing node gives a 180-degree phase shift, this gives a 0-degree phase shift, this summing node gives a 0-degree phase shift, and the forward amplifier here gives a 180-degree phase shift at omega naught, 360-degree phase shift at omega naught, and 0-degree phase shift at omega naught. So you cannot have a DC phase shift of 60 degrees. You have to remember this subtraction is a DC phase shift. DC because I change the voltage and hold it at that value, and the output voltage is going to reduce. That's what happens in a common source amplifier. Now we'll discuss feedback and oscillator topology. This oscillator topology is called a ring oscillator topology. Okay. Let's first try to understand how a ring oscillator would be built. So let's have a single stage common source amplifier, and this from here to here it gives a negative phase shift, and I connect output back to the input. Okay, so this is a common source. Can it ever oscillate? Now look at it this way. There is a 180-degree phase shift. Okay, so there is a DC phase shift of 180 degrees because of the negative this. If this increases, the output is going to reduce at all frequencies and at DC. The frequency dependent phase shift of there is a frequency for oscillation to occur. We need DC phase shift of 180 degrees, that is negative feedback. Frequency dependent phase shift of 180 degrees. So total of 360 degrees of phase shift is needed. But in this topology, a DC phase shift of 180 degrees there. What is the frequency dependent phase shift maximum we can get here? The maximum frequency dependent phase shift that a single stage common source amplifier can give you is 90 degree at infinite frequency. Keep in mind there is a single pole system. Single pole system gives you minus 90 degree of phase shift at infinite frequency. So the maximum phase shift possible in this loop is 270 degrees. So there is no way that this can oscillate. Okay, so no oscillation. How about a two-stage common source amplifier in negative feedback? So now there is, so in order to have negative feedback, if I cascade these two and take this output and feed it back, there is no DC phase shift of 180 degrees. Get a DC phase shift, I have to put another inverter here, let's call it an ideal inverter. Okay, because see, if I increase this reduces, then this increases. So this increase causes this increase. So that means there is no 180 degree phase shift if I connect this node to here. But if I put an ideal inverting stage here, then I can have this negative feedback. Okay. So now, so ideal signal inversion gives DC phase shift of 180 degree. Two stages of amplifiers, two poles gives you how many? What is the maximum phase shift it can give you? It gives you minus 180 degree at infinite frequency. So what is the total phase shift in the loop? You will get 360 degree phase shift, but at infinite frequency. So this circuit will therefore oscillate at infinite frequency, and therefore we cannot observe. Therefore, for any frequency that we are supposed to observe, we will never see the oscillation. Okay, so therefore we say that this won't oscillate. If it has to oscillate, it will oscillate probably at infinite frequency. Now, how about a three-stage common source amplifier? And we have already discussed this in the negative feedback case, and we derived the condition under which it is not going to oscillate. And now we are going to derive the same. Say if I use the opposite of that condition, then it is going to oscillate. So if I have a three-stage common source amplifier, there are four poles. Three poles are going to give me 270 degrees of phase shift, and this connection from V out to input gives me 180 degrees. So that means I'm getting more than 360 degrees of phase shift. So at infinite frequency. So that means at a particular frequency, at some realistic frequency, I will certainly get a 360 degree of phase shift in this loop. So, so the HFS of this transfer function, all stages are decoupled because this is infinite impedance here. You can think of it. So then, the gain of this, the transfer function of this loop is given by the poles are at the same location omega naught, which is 1 over RDCL, right? So HFS and the gain A naught equal to minus Gm times RT, the gain of each stage. At the oscillation phase shift is 180 degrees. Each stage gives a phase shift of 60 degrees. Okay. So we are going to say that tan inverse omega oscillation by omega naught equal to 60 degree. Omega oscillation is equal to omega naught. So we have already derived this earlier. The minimum DC gain A naught required is equal to 1. So A naught equal to 2. But if we want loop gain to be greater than equal to 1, so A naught should be greater than 2 for this to oscillate. So now the question is, if loop gain equal to 1 is sufficient for oscillation at omega oscillation, why do we say loop gain should be greater than 1? Okay. In order to make sure oscillation is sustained as temperature, voltage, and process change, we have to design certain amount of margin. Okay. And the second 2 points are some I put as question marks, so you know that they are a function of process and voltage and temperature. Okay. Now let's see, sir. Can we say that a two-stage amplifier can oscillate back in the frequency? A two-stage amplifier, as I said here, this is a two-stage amplifier. What is the maximum phase shift that you get? 180 degree, two poles in the system. At what frequency? Not at any finite frequency, it will be minus at the infinite frequency, right? Correct? Yes or no? Janish? A two-stage amplifier. Can you see that two-stage amplifier? Is this a two-stage amplifier that you are seeing on the screen? Now, how many poles are there in this system? Two. Each pole gives you how much? What is the maximum phase shift of each pole? At what frequency? Let me answer this question first. Janisha, then I'll get to your question. At what frequency does this give a minus 90 degree, a single pole? What is the frequency at which it gives you minus 90 degree? Infinite. So the two stages will give minus 180 degree at what frequency? Infinite. Now, but there is a DC phase shift of 180 degree because of the nature of the connection. The total phase shift in this loop is how much? But at infinite frequency. Can we observe infinite frequency whenever we want to see it? So then does this system oscillate? Now does it answer your question? Okay, great. Now there is another question. Three stage with the maximum phase shift of 270 degrees. Yes. And there is a DC phase shift of how much? 180 degrees. So what is the total phase shift at infinite frequency? 450, right? Snigdho. A three stage gives a maximum phase shift of 270 degrees, right? At infinite frequency. So total phase shift at infinite frequency is 450. That means at some frequency it will hit 360 degrees of phase shift, right or wrong? So then it will oscillate at that frequency. As long as we have the gain, as long as we satisfy this criteria. Does it answer your question, Sita? Okay. So I'll skip this linear oscillator this part, and I will directly go into and the LC tank also I will skip. If you want me to go over the LC tank, I can go over it tomorrow because it's just an LC circuit. Okay, and the LC circuit gives at that resonance frequency, it goes from 90 degree to minus 90 degree of phase shift. Okay, and you can put feedback around it and make a amplifier which gives you 360 degrees of phase shift. So I don't want to get into it right now. So so this is a very good question. Is it possible that phase shift is 360 degrees for one frequency and 720 degrees for another frequency? For what frequency will the oscillation occur? Very good question. So now let's okay. So now Rudrajyoti, okay. Now let's try to answer it from the loop gain perspective. We said that it gives a 360 degree phase shift. What is there are two conditions that you have to simultaneously satisfy for oscillation. What are the two conditions? Phase shift and loop gain magnitude. At 360 degrees, if I have at one frequency 360 degrees and loop gain greater than 1, then at another frequency, if I am having 720 degrees of phase shift, that frequency is greater than the frequency at which I am having 360 degrees of phase shift. Right or wrong? Yes or no? The frequency, which frequency is greater? The frequency where 360 degrees phase shift is happening or 720 degrees phase shift is happening? Which frequency is greater? Let us say omega 1 is the frequency at which we get 360 degrees of phase shift, and omega 2 is the frequency at which we get 720 degrees of phase shift. Which frequency is greater? Omega 2. If omega 2 is greater, right, can I satisfy this condition at both omegas? The gain condition. Can I satisfy the gain condition at both frequencies? Both omega 1 and omega 2? His answer. Can I satisfy the gain? The loop gain should be equal. No. So which frequency will satisfy only at one frequency? Because here this is only possible at one frequency. You can see this equation. So wherever we satisfy that, it will oscillate at that frequency. Does it answer your question? Yes, but what is the but? How can you satisfy greater than 1? Denominator will increase, right? I cannot satisfy greater than 1 for both the frequencies. It is impossible, physically impossible. Because if I have two frequencies, that means I have got two poles. Omega 1 is one pole, omega 2 is another pole. And every pole is giving me 20 dB per decade rollout. So gain is dropping off. Gain has to drop. If omega 2 is greater than omega 1, and omega 1 and omega 2 have to be the two poles, then the gain is dropping. So I cannot satisfy physically. Mathematically, yes, you are right. Here, engineers, we have to talk both math and look at the physical world also. Okay. Okay. So now let's go back to the RC phase shift oscillator, which you are supposed to do in the lab, and now with this lockdown, you have a lockdown version of the lab. And in that lockdown version also you will be doing something on this one. So I will discuss this one. Okay. And anybody wants to understand the LC oscillator, they can look at this note and of course the textbook which you can keep. Okay. Now, so the bottom line is, if we have to build a oscillator, we need to give 360 degrees of phase shift. And one phase shift is due to the nature of the connection. It gives you a negative feedback, 180 degrees. And the other phase shift is due to the frequency dependent phase shift. At particular frequency, you will get that phase shift. An RC phase shift oscillator, it's just like a common source oscillator, a common source ring oscillator. Now, common source ring oscillator is also like an RC, right? Because in R and C, there are poles. So here also, but there, each of the stages are decoupled. Here, they are not. So this stage over here, this stage and this stage are not decoupled because the current flowing in this capacitor depends on how much current is flowing in this capacitor. So these are not really decoupled completely. Okay. So now, but if I have three RCs and each one is giving me 60 degrees of phase shift, okay, keep in mind an RC can give me maximum of 90 degrees of phase shift at infinite frequency. Okay. So therefore, realistically, I can go 60 degrees is a good enough thing that I can realize with a particular size of RNC, and at some frequency, I will certainly get 60 degrees. Okay. So I can put three of these 60 RC network, and therefore I can get 180 degree phase shift here, and then I can put a minus sign over here, which is doing the inverse, which is doing the negative subtraction, and get another 180 degree over here. So total I can get 360 degrees in this. Okay. Now to analyze this network, we will, in order to analyze this, we have to break the loop, right? And say that the loop gain should be greater than 1 at that oscillation frequency. So we'll break the loop. So what we'll do is we'll break the loop over here. We'll break the loop over here. And wherever we break the loop, we apply an input voltage and monitor the output at the other end where we break it. Okay. Now, in order to solve this, we'll just apply KVL in the first three loops. There is one loop over here, one loop over here, and one loop over here. I would request all of you to write the KVLs for these three loops. Please write them down. I'll wait for you. Once you've written them down, please type yes, done or something, and we'll proceed. Are you guys done? I've written two KVLs already. You have to write the third one. Okay. So these are the KVL, one in this loop. This is one loop. This is the second loop. And this is the third loop. You write that. And then you can write that the voltage V out equal to K times I3 times R, which is K times this voltage. This is the fourth equation. So therefore, the loop gain is going to be A times beta, which is going to be V out over V in. Okay. So the three KVLs are given here, and V out equal to this voltage times minus of K, and this voltage is I3 times R, so V out equal to minus I3 times R. So the loop gain is going to be given by this expression, alpha equal to 1 by omega R. Okay. Okay. Now, the loop gain has to be a real quantity. Why should the loop gain be a real quantity? Why should the loop gain be a real quantity? So, what is our overall gain? H closed loop equal to H open loop by 1 plus A beta, H beta, right? Or let's call it A, and this is A. Right? So the denominator is 1 plus A beta. 1 is dimensionless, 1 is a real number. Okay? And for okay, now that is there, and then at the same time, in order for oscillation to happen, I have to make sure that the denominator is infinite. And it has to be equal to a real number. Okay? Since loop gain is a real quantity, so therefore we'll make the imaginary term equal to 0, and we find out that imaginary term is 0 at this value of this frequency. At this frequency, the loop gain should be greater than 1. Thus, A beta is how much? Now, A beta will be minus K divided by 1 minus 5 alpha square. Alpha equal to 1 by root 6, right? So, if alpha equal to 1 by root 6, I can plug in here minus K divided by 1 minus 5 times 1 by 6, right? 1 by root 6 square is 1 by 6. So, it is going to be 5 by 6, right? And 1 minus 5 by 6 is there is some problem here. So I made this. So how did I come up with K by 29? Can you guys help me? Where did I make a mistake here? How is alpha equal to 6? Alpha equal to 1 by root 6, right? Oh, alpha equal to 6. Alpha equal to root 6. Sorry. Alpha equal to root 6. Ah, sorry, my mistake. So wait a second, let me fix this. Um, this is a big mistake here. So this should be root 6. How do I wipe it out? And this should be 6. Okay, so this was a big typo. So um, okay. So now plugging in alpha equal to root 6 in this A beta, you get k by 29. So k should be greater than 29. That means you have to have the gain block. That gain block should have a gain greater than 29. And the gain block can be realized by this amplifier topology, which is the amplifier that you have done in your basic electronics lab. So this is the amplifier you have done in your basic electronics lab. Okay, so you can use this amplifier. Therefore, this amplifier should have a gain, that means RF by RI should be at least 30 for your system to oscillate at that frequency. Okay, therefore the overall circuit would look something like this. Now keep in mind the overall circuit had a resistor here, right? But now this resistor was connected to ground. Now look at it this way, that this is the virtual ground. This is the virtual ground. So the resistor that was connected to ground can be now connected over here, and we can define RF by RI equal to 30. Okay. Now if I fix RF, then I know R. Once I know the R's, then I can find out the C for the desired frequency of oscillation. Is it clear to all of you? Okay. So there was a big typo. I should have corrected this typo. Anyway, so with this, I think we wrap up the oscillator chapter. Okay, and this wraps up your syllabus. Okay, and I hope you learned a little bit of analog design. Okay, you did not understand the joining part. So what was the original circuit? Original circuit had C, R, C, R, C, and this R connected to ground. Okay, and this amplifier was shown as a black box like this, right? Now, if I realize the amplifier like this, then this Ri, this R that was connected from here to here can be moved from here to here, because all that we need is that this R that was connected to ground, R should be connected to ground, and I am connecting that R to this virtual ground here. That's it. Okay. Okay. So all the best. And I wanted to make it more anti-spice based. So unfortunately, without real interaction, bringing anti-spice is difficult. RC is also a possible configuration. RC is also a possible configuration because it does give you a phase shift, right? But then you have to do a little bit of a trick to configure to do this connection. To this connection, it won't be straightforward. Okay. So in order to do that, what you have to do is you put that RC is there. So then you can put simply an R and do the connection. There will be some amount of current flowing through that RC. That R, you have to take that R into account to consider the total phase. So basically what you have to do is, let me, so you do this connection. You write the loop here, write the loop here, write the loop here, and there will be some current flowing here. Taking all these into account, you can write the loop gain and find out what is the condition for the overall R1 by Rf to give you the oscillation, and then find out Rn. Okay, so there is an interesting question. Why can't we use capacitor in feedback and use the same previous configuration like CR? Oh, this is a okay. I never thought of this. I am glad that somebody asked this question. Wow. Okay, this will be interesting views of looking at it. You mean to say it like this? You mean to say this, Ganesh? Can you hear me? Is this what you meant? Now, if you do this, yes, this is okay. So this theoretically looks it is going to work, but you see that you are putting feedback around this amplifier and a DC. Okay, the output of the op amp is not connected to the input, and the op amp is going to become an open loop amplifier at that point. So there is no feedback at DC. So this circuit is not going to work. Okay, nobody had asked me this question earlier. Okay. Okay, there is no feedback at DC from the output of the op amp back to the input. So the op amp will behave like an open loop amplifier at that point when it is not going to work. Okay. Okay, then if there are no further questions, I hope you learned a little bit of analog design. All the best, and hopefully I'll see some of you take my advanced course of data converters or the DSP and advanced DSP and its applications. So I teach two courses. One is analog to digital converters, and the other is DSP and its applications. In DSP, I teach filter design and usually implementation, how to build realize filters in hardware. How do you realize filters, digital filters in hardware? And I hope to see some of you guys in those courses. Okay. Okay then. Thank you.